On March 1st, 2026, 3 days into Operation Epic Fury, an Iranian drone struck a U.S. military installation in Kuwait. 6 American soldiers were killed. They were from the 103rd Sustainment Command based in Des Moines, Iowa. Their names were released. Their families were notified. Their flag-draped coffins came home. The official account was straightforward. Iran fired. Americans died. But there is a question that has not been answered in any official briefing, in any Pentagon press conference, in any news segment you have seen. How did Iran know exactly where to aim? Russia told them. Not metaphorically, not through some indirect relationship. Russia's intelligence services, the same services that run satellite surveillance over NATO countries, that intercept U.S. military communications, that track American warship movements across every ocean, were feeding that targeting data directly to Iranian forces. The locations of American ships, the positions of American aircraft, the layouts of American bases across the Middle East. Russia was aiming the gun. Iran was pulling the trigger. This was confirmed 6 days into the war by multiple senior U.S. officials with direct knowledge. It was confirmed again yesterday by the EU's top diplomat at a G7 meeting outside Paris, who stated publicly that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran, quote, to kill Americans. My name is General Marcus Webb. I spent 34 years inside United States Army intelligence, the last 9 at the Defense Intelligence Agency. I have spent my career studying how adversaries share intelligence, how targeting networks function, and what it means when 2 enemies coordinate against American forces. What I want to explain today is something most coverage is completely missing. Not just that Russia is helping Iran, but what specific intelligence Russia is providing, how the targeting chain actually works, why 6 American soldiers died because of it, and why the Trump administration is deliberately not saying Russia's name in public. That last part is the most important part. Russia is not sending Iran a generic intelligence report. It is providing 3 specific categories of targeting data that Iran could not generate on its own. The first is satellite imagery. Russia operates a network of military reconnaissance satellites, the Persona and Razdan series, capable of producing high-resolution imagery of military installations across the Middle East. Iran's own satellite capability is limited to a handful of low-resolution commercial platforms. Russia's military satellites can image a U.S. carrier flight deck in enough detail to count the aircraft parked on it. The second is signals intelligence. Russia's electronic intelligence collection capability in the Middle East, built through decades of military presence in Syria, diplomatic facilities across the region, and naval vessels operating in the Arabian Sea, can intercept and geolocate U.S. military communications, radar emissions, and navigation signals. When a U.S. destroyer activates its fire control radar, Russia's SIGINT network can determine its exact position within meters. The third is human intelligence. Russia has cultivated intelligence networks across Gulf states for decades, networks that include officials, contractors, and port workers with access to information about U.S. military movements. Port calls, resupply schedules, maintenance rotations, all of it feeds into a picture that Russia can share with Tehran. Iran, operating alone, could estimate where American forces were. With Russia's 3 intelligence streams feeding directly into the IRGC's targeting system, Iran could know exactly where American forces were, in real time. The intelligence sharing is not the only dimension of Russian support. British intelligence, confirmed publicly by UK Defence Secretary John Healey at the same G7 meeting, has determined that Russia provided not just intelligence, but training to Iranian forces before the war began in late February. Specifically, training on the deployment and coordination of Shahed series drones, the drones that have been striking U.S. bases, Gulf oil facilities, and commercial shipping across the region since day 1 of the conflict. Russia has been operating Iranian-designed Shahed drones on the Ukraine battlefield since 2022. In those 4 years, Russian operators have developed significant tactical expertise, optimal approach routes, electronic countermeasure evasion, coordinated mass launch timing to overwhelm air defense intercept capacity. That expertise was transferred to Iranian operators before Operation Epic Fury began. The drone campaign that has shut down the Strait of Hormuz, hit the Qatari LNG complex, struck Dubai's airport, and killed American soldiers, was in part planned and trained by Russia. The practical implication of Russian targeting support is something I want to make very concrete. The USS Abraham Lincoln is currently operating in the Arabian Sea, conducting flight operations in support of Operation Epic Fury. Its approximate operational area is known from public reporting and flight tracking data, but its precise position, the position accurate enough to guide a ballistic missile to within a few hundred meters of the ship, that requires real-time collection that Iran does not have the satellites or signals infrastructure to generate on its own. Russia has that collection capability, and it is operating it actively in the region. Every American warship in the Middle East theater is operating with the knowledge that its position may be known to Iran with a precision that Iran's own intelligence cannot provide. Every American commander is making operational decisions, how fast to move, when to change position, how often to alter course, that account for the possibility that Russian satellites are overhead. That is a fundamentally different operational environment than a war against Iran alone. It is closer to a war against a Russian-equipped Iranian force, and it changes the calculus for every decision made in every American command center in the region. Here's what makes this story remarkable. The EU's top diplomat named Russia publicly yesterday. British intelligence named Russia publicly yesterday. Multiple U.S. officials confirmed Russia's role to CBS News 3 weeks ago. The Washington Post reported it. The Wall Street Journal reported it, and President Trump has said almost nothing about Russia's role in this war. His social media posts blame Iran. His statements blame Iran. His threats are directed at Iran. NATO, he said yesterday, has done absolutely nothing to help, but he did not mention Russia's active assistance to the other side. When Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was asked directly about Russia sharing intelligence with Iran on 60 Minutes, he said Trump was well aware of who's talking to who, and that anything that shouldn't be happening is being confronted. That is a very specific non-answer. It confirms awareness. It confirms confrontation. It does not confirm public accusation. It does not confirm retaliation. It does not confirm that Russia has been told to stop. In 34 years of intelligence work, I have seen governments use exactly this kind of language when they are managing a problem they cannot yet afford to make public. Let me tell you what they are managing. There are 3 strategic reasons why the Trump administration is not publicly naming Russia as a co-belligerent in this conflict. The first is escalation management. Publicly accusing Russia of helping kill American soldiers creates a political demand for a response. What is the response to a nuclear power actively assisting your enemy in killing your troops? The options are all bad. Military action against Russian assets risks direct confrontation. Sanctions have limited effect on a sanctions-saturated economy. Diplomatic protest is dismissed. By not naming Russia publicly, the administration keeps its options open and avoids the domestic political pressure to escalate against a nuclear adversary. The second is deal arithmetic. The Trump administration is simultaneously trying to negotiate an end to the Iran war through Pakistani intermediaries. Russia has a relationship with Iran that the U.S. does not currently have. If Washington publicly condemns Russia's role, it risks Moscow retaliating by telling Tehran to harden its negotiating position. Russia has leverage in the Iran deal. Preserving that leverage requires not making Russia an official enemy in this conflict. The third is Ukraine. Trump has been trying to negotiate an end to the Ukraine war simultaneously with the Iran war. Openly accusing Russia of killing Americans in the Middle East makes the Ukraine negotiation politically impossible domestically. How do you negotiate peace with a country that is actively helping kill your soldiers? These are not conspiracy theories. They are strategic calculations that any experienced intelligence analyst would identify immediately when looking at the gap between what is known and what is being said publicly. The silence is the policy. The silence is the strategy, and understanding the silence tells you more about where this war is heading than anything that has been said out loud. UK Defense Secretary John Healey used a specific phrase at the G7 meeting yesterday. He called Russia and Iran an axis of aggression. That phrase is not diplomatic boilerplate. It is a deliberate historical reference. The last time a major Western official used the word axis to describe a military alliance, it referred to Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Imperial Japan. The comparison is not hyperbole. The structural relationship between Russia and Iran in this conflict is genuinely analogous. Russia provides the intelligence infrastructure and technical capability. Iran provides the operational manpower and the forward position. Each contributes what the other lacks. Together they create a combined capability that neither could generate alone. Russia, operating alone, cannot directly confront the United States militarily without risking nuclear escalation. Iran, operating alone, could not have executed the precision targeting required to repeatedly hit U.S. military installations across the region. Together, they have created a situation where American forces are facing an adversary with Russian satellite coverage, Russian signals intelligence, Russian drone training, and Iranian operational willingness to use all of it against American targets. That is not a regional conflict with a rogue state. That is a coordinated campaign by two nuclear-adjacent powers against American interests, and it has been underway for 4 weeks. The United States has not been passive in the face of Russian intelligence support to Iran. What it has done has largely not been reported publicly, but the operational signatures are visible to anyone who knows what to look for. The first countermeasure is positional unpredictability. U.S. carrier strike groups in the region have been changing position at higher frequency than normal peacetime deployments. The USS Abraham Lincoln has not maintained a fixed operational area. It has been moving, continuously, with course and speed changes designed to complicate the targeting solution that Russian satellites are trying to build. The second countermeasure is emissions control. American forces in the region have been operating under more stringent MCON, emissions control, protocols than normal, limiting the radar and communications emissions that Russia's signals intelligence ships can geolocate. This degrades the picture Russia can provide to Iran, but it also degrades American coordination capability. It is a cost-benefit trade that American commanders are managing in real time. The third countermeasure is space. The United States Space Command has been actively working to limit what Russian reconnaissance satellites can see over the Middle East theater, through a combination of timing operational activities to satellite gaps, using low observable platforms that reduce imagery collection value, and other means that remain classified. None of these countermeasures eliminates the Russian intelligence advantage. They degrade it, they complicate it, they raise the cost and reduce the precision of what Russia can provide to Iran. But they have not stopped it, and 6 Americans are dead in Kuwait because they did not stop it in time. Every military power on earth is studying the Russia-Iran intelligence sharing arrangement that has operated in this conflict. But no military is studying it more carefully than China's People's Liberation Army. China faces a strategic problem that Russia and Iran together have partially solved in the Middle East. In any conflict over Taiwan, China would need targeting data on American carrier strike groups, specifically real-time position data accurate enough to guide the DF-21D and DF-26 carrier killer missiles that Beijing has spent a decade and hundreds of billions of dollars developing. China's own collection capability against American carriers, while significant, has known gaps. Satellite revisit times, signals intelligence limitations, the challenge of maintaining real-time track on a moving carrier in open ocean. What Russia has demonstrated in the Middle East is that those gaps can be closed, not by the adversary directly facing America, but by a third party with superior collection capability, providing targeting data to the frontline force. China is not Russia. China's own intelligence infrastructure is in many respects more capable than Russia's, but the operational template, a coordinated intelligence architecture where one party collects and one party fires, is exactly what Beijing's military planners are currently modeling for a Taiwan scenario. The question China is asking right now is not, Can we hit an American carrier? The question is, if we share our satellite collection with a partner who can operate closer to the carrier than we can, how much does our targeting solution improve? The answer, based on what Russia and Iran have demonstrated, is significantly. The Russia-Iran intelligence partnership in this conflict has established something that will outlast the war itself. It has established that when America confronts a regional adversary, it may be operating against a combined targeting architecture that includes the satellite and signals capabilities of a major power that is not officially at war with the United States. That is a new strategic environment. It is one that American military planners have war-gamed theoretically for years. It is now operational reality. The implications reach far beyond the Middle East. In any future conflict in any theater, American forces will need to assume that adversary targeting data may include collection from third parties with capabilities that exceed the frontline adversary's own intelligence infrastructure. Russia has shown China how to do this. China will refine it. And the next generation of American commanders will fight in a world where the enemy always has better eyes than you can see. 6 Americans came home from Kuwait in flag-draped coffins. The official story was Iran fired. That is true. The complete story is Russia aimed. Russia provided the satellite imagery that told Iran where the installation was. Russia provided the signals intelligence that told Iran when to strike. Russia provided the drone training that made the strike possible. And Washington has said almost nothing about Russia's role, for strategic reasons that I have explained, and that I believe are defensible in the short term, but that the American public deserves to understand. The war in the Middle East is not a two-party conflict. It is a three-party conflict, with one party, the party with the satellites, the electronic intelligence collection, and the strategic patience to use both, operating just below the threshold of official acknowledgement. Understanding that does not make the war harder to win. American military capability remains dominant. The carrier groups are still operating. The B-21s are still flying. The Virginia-class submarines are still in position. But it changes what winning requires. And it changes what comes next. Because the template Russia and Iran have established in this conflict will be studied, refined, and redeployed. By Russia again. By China. By every adversary that has watched this war and concluded that the way to bleed a superpower is to give someone else better eyes. My name is General Marcus Webb. If this briefing gave you something the morning news did not, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next briefing covers the one American intelligence program that is specifically designed to detect and disrupt exactly what Russia has been doing in this conflict. It exists. It is operational. And Iran has been trying to find it since day one. I will see you there.